You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome, everyone, to episode... Kirk, what episode are we on?
267!
There it is.
Okay.
I work with children, and I've discovered the best way to get them to stop doing the 6-7 stuff is to
lean in.
Make a big deal out of it. It's super uncool when someone my age does it, so that stops them dead in their tracks.
And I refuse.
And I go
on
big.
Principle, and Kirk
I
goes
do.
big,
I go big when I do it with school groups.
That's why I asked you to do it, because I didn't want to.
There you go.
All right. So I
no
get to start us off this week. Exactly. We know. That's why I asked you. All right. So let's dive right back in, and we're going to go back in time a bit, okay?
Ooh,
time
love
travel. Love it.
It's always fun. So we're going back to April 1961. So before all of us are born. Let's go.
Correct.
So we're going to April 1961 on mainland Antarctica. And we're going to follow, we're going to go to a particular base that has a name that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. I think it's Russian, so I'm not even going to try.
That's probably for the best. Yeah.
There was a lot of vowels, and no. So we're going to follow a physician that happens to be on this base. Dr. Leonid Rogozov noticed in late April, as he went about his day, a few things that felt different on himself. This is going to be a fun test for Victoria.
Oh, boy.
He wasn't feeling as hungry as he probably should.
Okay.
He had a low-grade fever, and he noticed some gas that was happening, and that's normal,
Decreased
right?
appetite, fever, gas. Okay.
He also noticed, and this is probably going to be the giveaway for Victoria, he noticed some a sudden sharp pain in his right side of his body, in his lower stomach.
Okay, all right.
And now we see why Rachel picked this topic this week.
Well, Kirk, you know why I picked this topic this week.
I don't
will tell. Oh, no, Victoria doesn't, and I will touch base on it in a minute. Victoria, he was a doctor, so he quickly figured out what was wrong. What does he have?
Appendicitis, almost certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I picked this particular topic because earlier this week, turns out I'm 98% positive it was not appendicitis, but I had a pain in my lower right stomach, and I was like, that's unusual, but it never got worse, and it has now since gone away, so I'm probably fine. We'll see. Going to the doctor tomorrow. It'll be great.
Okay.
This was a few days ago, so highly doubt it was appendicitis.
Maybe it was just like temporary appendicitis.
It could also very well be, as I am a person with ovaries, it could have been something to do with that.
Maybe it was a light version known as appendicitis.
Ooh.
Oh.
So
I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to all the listeners.
No, you don't.
For that horrible dad joke. No, that didn't even meet my standards. I apologize.
It was so good. It was bad.
Okay, so Leonid
has appendicitis. It is bad, especially when he's on mainland Antarctica.
Yep.
Now, this is not the first time this has happened in Antarctica at this time. There was another time that this happened in 1950. And what happened at that particular time is this doctor, what he did was he ended up discovering and figuring out, hey, I have appendicitis, and he was on Heard Island. He wasn't on mainland mainland Antarctica, and he actually was able to get off and get evacuated because
I don't like where this is going. I just want to state for the record.
You shouldn't. So he, so the other doctor, I think it was Dr. Clark, he actually realized what was going on, was able to be evacuated, but it was time consuming, very expensive. They had to get a replacement doctor. Oh, by the way, all of this is happening in the Antarctic winter.
Yep.
So,
oh no.
April is late fall or something there.
So it's not great. So generally, they were able to figure out and be able to get the doctor from 1950 off the island to allow him to get treated in Australia. Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Leonid didn't really have this option. He messaged out to other stations which had doctors, because remember, he's the doctor on station, and generally in the winter,
why is it
each
always the
station
doctor?
only has one. So he messaged out to a few, but none of them had any airplanes. And then to make things even worse, a blizzard
good. So it
was
wasn't
going
bad
on.
enough. Of course.
Of course, a blizzard
why
was
not?
happening, right? Why wouldn't there be? So that just, makes it worse. So what ended up happening, he was like, okay, this will probably be okay. It might be fine. It wasn't, because no one had an airplane, and he realized the next day on April 30th that he was beginning to get peritonitis, which is the signs of your appendix either about to burst or has burst. Not good is pretty much what that means.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Real critically bad.
Mm-hmm. So he has to get his appendix out. But he's the doctor.
Yep.
So
I'm having flashbacks of the movie The Martian right now.
Have you ever seen the movie Master and Commander?
No.
It's a good one.
Thank God. So he had no choice at this point. So he got 2 assistants. He used some local anesthetic so he would stay awake. And made an incision.
No.
Used a mirror.
No.
And removed his own appendix.
Lordy. That's something else. Kirk is having a tough time here.
Yeah. So it was one of they had to do short pauses. And
you don't say.
Yeah, and it took a couple hours because he had to work by feel, I guess.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he had to pause, figure out where the thing was.
Was
make
he
sure
a surgeon? Okay.
If you are going, I'll get into this a little bit, but if you are going to be if you're going to be on an Antarctic station as a doctor, there's certain things that you have to be able to do. One of which is an appendectomy.
One of those?
Yeah, an appendectomy. Anemone. You have to be able to do an appendectomy.
One more time, Rachel. You got this.
In order to be a doctor on an Antarctica station, especially, you have to do a couple pretty basic and really common surgeries, including an appendectomy. Beautiful.
I'm going to leave all that in, by the way.
I knew it. You actually also have to, I was looking into this, you actually also have to be able to do some basic dental work, which most doctors don't need to be able to do.
Makes sense.
Because if you're on mainland,
is what
you
they
have
mean.
to be, you have to be able to take care of other people. Now, this was 1961, and he, in 2 weeks, was able to carry out his normal duties and went on to live many, many decades. Okay, so he was
expression
fine.
On Kirk's face.
I don't mind surgery per se. The idea of cutting into myself
He literally had
violates
no choice.
but it violates that's why the scene in The Martian, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, there's a similar scene with a mirror and all this.
They probably got it from this.
Horrifying. The idea, and this is with no anesthetic or anything, I don't think.
Oof.
Having to do that to yourself, just the mind state you have to get into.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had
Just
local anesthetic, which means it was just numb in that one spot. So yeah,
and not completely either.
Not
probably.
completely. Yeah.
God.
Oof.
I'd have some whiskey as well, probably, but
1961, maybe.
Interestingly,
they had great whiskey in 1961.
They don't
actually.
Even,
they probably had vodka, is what they had.
Oh yeah. They don't even necessarily always operate for appendicitis anymore. Sometimes they just treat with antibiotics these days.
Exactly.
If you catch it soon enough. It hasn't burst, yeah.
Exactly. So this particular doctor, this is just a big, fun little intro about the appendix. Again,
that was just the intro?
more or less. I mostly wanted to talk about this, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about the appendix itself.
So we're 12 minutes in.
Oh my goodness, really? Well, half of that is me not being able to say appendectomy.
Hey, you did it!
Now
I did it
perfectly.
Now I can do it.
Now
right?
we can do it. Okay.
So this particular man, I might just hold on to the appendix because that itself is fascinating, just because of time-wise, for all of us today. So this particular, this is an example of self-surgery, is what it is.
Yeah.
It is not common, and actually because of what happened with both Dr. Clark and with Dr. Leonid, all doctors, before they go to Antarctic bases, have to have their appendix removed.
Yep.
I remember having heard that at some point. And
yes.
Now it makes sense why.
Not everyone has to have their appendix removed, but the doctors do. Because it is a fairly common issue that can happen. Most of the time it happens before you are 30 is more common than not. If you are going to need your appendix removed. But because of that, they actually do require doctors to have their appendix removed. And then they have to, especially if you are wintering in Antarctic stations, and it depends on which country you are representing when you go to Antarctica. But generally, that is going to be the requirement. They also check to see if your wisdom teeth are going to be any sort of, if you still have them, if they're going to be an issue.
Sure.
You have to go through some pretty strong medical checks before you can go out to Antarctica for the
psychological winter. Too, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. But that is something that I really wanted to talk about today. There is more to it generally, but if you are a regular expeditioner, you don't have to have your appendix removed because there's a doctor on site who can do that. But if you are a doctor, you do have to get it removed. The reason is because they can't have others. You can't do they don't want self-surgeries anymore.
Right.
Wasn't there a doctor it was probably longer ago than I think, but within the last 20 years who had to biopsy her own breast in Antarctica?
I wouldn't be surprised. I was mostly focused on appendix.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be surprising to me.
What do they call it when you have to remove your appendix, Rachel?
An appendectomy.
Okay, just checking.
Fine. But it is a really common thing to have to go through. So it's something that Antarctic bases aren't willing to have happen. It can happen. It affects 5 to 9 out of every 100 people in the United States. So that's
wow.
pretty high odds. So
That is high.
yeah. With that, stay tuned on the appendix, not the appendices. The appendix.
Well, it will be an appendice to this episode. In
Absolutely.
A way, but yeah.
About the appendix and
There you
why we have this little organ that seemingly doesn't do anything but causes
Right.
problems. I'm going to leave it at that. I will tell you, it's really rather odd. And we're going to leave it at that. So we're going
Maybe
to take
next
a quick break. And when we return, it'll be Victoria.
Hey, we're back. Well, Rachel, you kind of had us on a medical topic, and I also have a somewhat medical topic today.
Excellent.
You guys remember in the lead up to Halloween when I talked about a truly terrifying topic, prion diseases?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I mentioned the lovely Wikipedia list of human disease case fatality rates.
Uh-huh.
Well,
We're going back.
yeah, we're going back to the list.
Oh, no.
Prion diseases, as I discussed, are in a category by themselves. 100% fatality, no vaccine, treatment, or cure. But
Don't like any of that.
Nope, that's pretty bad.
there are other diseases that are quite high on the list and extremely horrifying in their own right. We've already covered several of them on the show, including rabies and the brain-eating amoeba.
Oh, yeah.
Rabies still terrifies me, by the way,
Yep.
as it well should.
Yeah, I think the brain-eating amoeba might be even more terrifying because it's just so
I
random.
don't like it.
Is it Nagelleri fowleri?
Something like that. Yeah.
How did you remember that?
Look, this brain is strange. I can't explain what does and doesn't get remembered.
Well,
Wow.
I'm going to be talking about another high up item from this list, which is a terrible disease that, when untreated, has an approximately 99% fatality rate: African sleeping sickness.
Oh, there it is.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
Sleeping sickness is a huge problem in many areas of Africa.
Yeah.
Just as an example, there was an epidemic in Uganda from 1900 to 1920 approximately that killed 250,000 people,
Ugh.
which was 1/3
Oh.
of the population in the region where it was concentrated.
Oh,
Jesus.
Yeah, and that was on the back of another sleeping sickness epidemic in the late 19th century, centered in Congo and also Uganda, that killed 300 to 500,000 people.
oh.
Oof. That's not great.
Not good.
Nope. And, while control measures and disease treatments have mostly avoided, well, actually, it was also epidemic in the mid to late 20th century. So I'm not going to say it totally avoided further epidemics, but it's still a big problem. And it exacerbates poverty in many areas because people can't keep livestock healthy, since livestock are also affected by the disease. It's caused by a parasitic protist. It's called Trypanosoma brucei. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh.
Brucei. And
Okay.
it's really quite nasty. Before we get into the details, though, we're going to talk about the other creature in this little drama, which is the tse-tse fly.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I've mentioned tse-tse flies in passing a couple of times on the show before because they are really fascinating creatures. There are several species of them. They're a very tough-bodied fly. Apparently, you can't really kill it with a fly swatter the way you can other flies. It's just very,
Interesting.
very hard. And they look a little different than your standard fly. They fold both their wings neatly over each other at rest instead of holding them out to the side a little bit the way other flies do. And they have a very prominent proboscis, which,
fun.
of course, they
Yeah.
use to pierce your skin and suck your blood.
I hate that.
Yeah,
Why?
it's nutritious. That's why.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Not only do they feed on humans, as I sort of indicated, but a wide variety of other animals, including livestock, but also elephants, rhinos, hippos, lions, turtles, monitor lizards. And the tip of this proboscis has a variety of rasps and teeth and sharp, pointy bits, which they can scrape at and drill through the skin with quite a bit of force, which they would have to do to get through, like, elephant skin, for example.
Yeah.
Like dense fur, lizard scales.
A rhino, yeah.
Consequently, they have no problems biting people through their clothes, and I was even reading anecdotally, like, through a leather belt.
What?
What?
Yeah.
That's
That
crazy.
is very thick.
They also have sharp little
Okay.
hooks on the end of their feet that let them cling on to their prey very well, and they're extremely persistent. You can't just wave them away the way you can, like, a mosquito or a midge or something.
Oh God, that's not
don't like
great.
that.
I hate that.
Yeah, they're really quite unpleasant little creatures. But fascinating. The reason I've mentioned them on the show before is that they have a remarkable reproductive strategy. Female tse-tses have a uterus and gestate a single egg.
That's
That's wild.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It hatches into a larva inside the mother, and she gives birth to a live baby little fly, which then pupates quickly. And they create a kind of milk inside the uterus for the larva to eat.
No,
So I talked about that in my non-mammalian milk episode.
that's
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, gross.
Females also mate only once, so just the one baby.
I mean, that's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie.
that's
If
gonna-
you're
yeah,
gonna
that's
do
gonna
Oh,
all
slow you
of that,
down.
you might as well just do one.
Yeah. Anyway, as painful and irritating as tsetse bites are, they would be just a severe annoyance if it weren't for the unfortunate fact that tsetse flies carry these trypanosomes that cause sleeping sickness. I'm going to talk about the human form of trypanosomiasis, but animals also get a version called nagana. And actually, although many wild animals and some breeds of livestock are resistant at some level,
Okay.
which makes sense.
Okay.
So the disease has two main stages. When the tsetse passes parasites into your body, they go into the lymphatic and circulatory systems. The first phase starts, which is called the hemolymphatic phase. Hemo means having to do with the blood, and yeah. So this symptoms tend to be kind of generalized. There's fevers, which are often recurring, headache, joint pain, weakness, malaise, that kind of stuff.
Right.
One thing that's a little more distinctive is significant swelling of the lymph nodes on the back of the neck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if you start to have
Ow.
those particular symptoms, you're like, okay, we think we know what this is.
Yeah, but it can be hard to distinguish, and it's often misdiagnosed as malaria because of the recurring fevers, or people can be
Yeah.
infected with
Interesting.
malaria at the
Okay.
same time.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, this first phase lasts a variable amount of time. There's actually two variants of the parasite that affect humans. One is
Oh, good. Even better.
I'm not going to like say the whole thing again, but one's called Gambiense and the other's called Rhodesiense.
okay.
So Gambiense is responsible for 98% of human disease. It's prevalent in Western and Central Africa. If you know anything about African geography, Gambia is in West Africa, so that's where the name comes from. And Rhodesiense is primarily an animal disease. It also does affect humans, and that's more prevalent in Eastern and Southern Africa, Rhodesia being the former colonial name of Zimbabwe,
Right.
which is in Southeast Africa. So for our purposes, the main difference between the two variants is how fast they go. So Rhodesiense, the rare one, is quite fast, and the hemolymphatic phase lasts between 21 to 60 days, 3 to 9 weeks.
No.
That's the fast one.
And then in Gambiense, it can last for 300 to 500 days. So you can have this going on for over a year.
No.
Before the fun
Rachel and I
really
both
begins.
at the same time were like,
Before the fun begins?
Yeah.
This is not fun. This sounds the opposite of fun.
Yeah, it's the opposite of fun. you're right.
nurses have a strange definition of fun. We're just going to acknowledge that right now.
Yes.
Well, we always do.
Okay, so then the parasite crosses the blood-brain barrier.
No,
No.
no, I don't want it to. No. It doesn't need to. It can stay right on the other side.
So then that's the neurological phase, as you might guess. From the name of the sickness, it changes sleep-wake cycles. That's like very distinctive
okay.
features. So often people are sleeping during the day and awake all night, or they get suddenly sleepy at random times. This makes sense because the parasite is particularly active in the brain region that controls your sleep-wake cycles.
Okay.
And of course, with parasites in your brain, you're going to have some other symptoms as well.
Crazy pants.
Yep. Tremor, weakness, partial paralysis, difficulty walking, speech problems, strange sensations, visual disturbances, psychiatric problems, seizures, coma, and inevitably death.
Death.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's really horrible. It's really horrible.
That sounds bad.
Luckily, some treatments have been developed. There is a blood test for the disease, but it's a lot easier to treat the disease before the neurological phase begins, as you might guess. A lot of drugs don't cross the blood-brain barrier. But the only way to tell for sure if you have the neurological phase is to do a spinal tap, otherwise known as a lumbar puncture, which is a more specialized and expensive procedure.
Not great.
Not fun.
And of course,
pass on
this
that
is occurring in very poor parts of Africa that don't have a lot of health resources
Money.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some treatments that work once the neurological phase has begun, but of course, any brain damage that has occurred is permanent.
Yeah.
And often, because of these vague symptoms in the early stage of the disease, people often don't get treated in time. There's been some decent success with doing population level screening, where they just like go to an area and do a blood test on everybody, and then just
Interesting.
treat anybody who shows up positive. But even more importantly, there's ongoing efforts to control tsetse flies.
Helpful.
So-
Good.
That would be important.
Yes, they've done all kinds of stuff tsetse flies tend to breed in brushy areas rather than grazed areas. So getting rid of brush, but you kind of have to keep after it, and it's hard.
Yeah. Ongoing.
Using insecticides, particularly drenching livestock in insecticide, which like doesn't sound super healthy.
Oof.
This doesn't sound great.
But more recently, there's been an innovation where they discovered that there's a particular shade of very bright blue that tsetse flies are extremely attracted to. And so they've just set up these fabric traps. Some of them are extremely simple. Some of them are just a panel with one blue side and one black side. And it's impregnated with insecticide. So the tsetse flies will like circle the blue because they're attracted to it, but then they hit the black part and get the insecticide on them and die within a few minutes. Some of them are a little more complicated than that, but they all have this bright blue fabric, which is so fascinating.
Interesting.
There's also been success, particularly where they've been able to reduce the numbers with these insecticide-based efforts and like the traps, with releasing large numbers of sterilized males into the area. So then the males will mate with the female, and since they only mate once,
they don't get pregnant.
Yep. So it's really fascinating that this this mating and reproductive strategy of the tsetse flies is sort of enabling some control of them.
Yeah.
So
it's very similar to what happens in the there's the flies that I talked about in Panama. It's very similar treatment.
Yes.
To what they do down there.
The screw flies?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's actually been quite a bit of success recently. There were, from one source I read, it said that fewer than 600 cases of the Gambiense strain of sleeping sickness were diagnosed in 2024, which is down from over 38,000 cases in 1998.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Most of the
That's quite a
cases
change.
are in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which, if you
Tough
know what's going on there, there's quite a bit of conflict. So I'm sure it's making it even harder to try to control this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's still a big problem, and it's a really horrible disease. And I hope that we can keep doing what we're doing to get things better. That's what I got this week.
Wow, Victoria.
Yep.
What a topic.
Yeah.
Uplifting. Thank you.
My main sources this week, Wikipedia. There was an article on NPR about the blue traps, a good article on the history of African trypanosomiasis from parasitic vectors in February 2008, and Anatomy and Mechanics of Tsetse fly blood feeding by Stefan Löwe et al., which is a preprint that was from December 2025. So that hasn't been published yet officially, but it's some good stuff about all the nasty sharp bits of the tsetse fly.
Wow.
Gross.
Yeah.
Thanks, Victoria.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we
Thanks.
come back, it'll be Kirk.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Society of Strange. That's what we call our patrons over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society members directly support the show they love, and depending on their level of support, get fun perks such as bonus content on select shows, insider photos, water bottle stickers, and here's a big one, every level of support gets every episode 100% ad-free. Come join the other lovers of the show, help keep this strange show going, and get those ad-free episodes. We'll see you all over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to end with something kind of fun here after Victoria's story. This week's weekly dose of weird comes from Tasmania. And I guess shout out to our patron Tegan. I know Tegan's from there in Australia, so hey Tegan, thanks for supporting the show.
Yeah.
This
Thanks,
one,
Tegan.
I guess, is dedicated to
you.
Tegan, since she's or they are from Tasmania. So now Tegan and crew are likely already familiar with this story, but it made news around the world a few years ago.
Okay.
Back in 2009, something strange happened in Tasmania. Crop circles showed up in farm fields.
Oh.
Now,
UFOs. It's the aliens. They're coming for the island. They're coming for the devils.
I was just going to say, crop circles aren't something we would normally cover on the show for exactly the reason Rachel has mentioned.
You're welcome.
They're more appropriate for like a UFO show rather than a science-based show like ours. So, spoiler alert, crop circles are usually just made by prankster humans stomping around in fields with boards. Just to freak people out or to make art.
Fun.
Yeah, but these crop circles were different. And they attracted the attention of authorities because even if they were made by humans, which was a possibility, those humans certainly should not have been in these particular crop fields. In fact, the investigation into these crop circles went all the way to the halls of Parliament.
Oh.
And if that seems extreme, then we need to zoom out a bit and look at these fields and the special, beautiful crop that was growing in there. You see, this wasn't a field of corn or beans or wheat.
Drugs.
This was a field of opium poppies.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, the opium poppy, Papover somniferum, is native to the Mediterranean. The species epithet somniferum means sleep-bringing, as people early on realized that this powerful plant can make you sleepy and a whole lot more. We know humans have been cultivating opium poppies since at least, get this, 5,000 BCE.
Wow.
Whoa.
So humans have been purposely growing poppies for at least 7,000 years. This is an old crop.
That
Yeah.
makes sense, though.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna rethink. Every
Almost
time I have
like
a
it's
poppy seed
addictive.
muffin.
Yeah. Now, many people don't realize this, but Tasmania is the world's largest producer of legal opium poppies in the world.
I definitely did not realize that.
These are not
I did not either.
illegal. These aren't the illegal grow operations. Afghanistan used to be the primary source of much of the illegal opium in the world, but Myanmar actually overtook them in the illicit production trade back in 2023. Turns out countries with well-functioning governments are usually not high in the list of places to grow illicit substances. So you'd wonder,
Wild.
what is Tasmania doing growing so many poppies? And there's a really important distinction. Yes, the legal ones.
Yep.
The poppies in Tasmania are grown legally for the pharmaceutical industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever taken codeine, oxycodone, oxymorphone, hydrocodone,
Also known
hydromorphone,
as
fentanyl,
opioids.
morphine, tramadol, or any other legal opioid, then there's a chance it started off as a flower in Tasmania. Actually, a really high chance. According to the New York Times, in 2014, which is the last time I could find data for, Tasmania produced 85% of the world's supply of thebaine, which is the starting ingredient for making drugs like oxycodone and hydrocodone, and that comes from opium poppies. Tasmania also produces 100% of the world's supply of horrifying, which is another alkali compound found in poppies. And this powerful little molecule can be converted into a drug called, bear with me here, dihydroetropine, I believe.
Okay.
I said that correctly. That is 12,000 times stronger than morphine.
Holy moly.
Jeez. Okay.
And for those of you playing at home, morphine is real powerful in and of itself.
Uh-huh.
I actually wasn't familiar with this drug, but apparently, from a little bit of reading, it's very commonly used in veterinary medicine.
Oh.
Okay.
And then it's also really widely used in China, but not so much where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Tasmania also incidentally has 25% of the world's opium and codeine production. So it's
there.
It is big business in Tasmania. Yeah. It's also a highly regulated business. And this is the exact same plant, used to make heroin, as well as fentanyl, which is produced both legally and illegally and is becoming one of the most abused opioids out there. If someone was messing around in these farm fields, the authorities absolutely wanted to know. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm here to report that we can all rest safely. There were no aliens or drug cartels or even prankster teenagers out there in the poppy fields. Not even Dorothy.
Devils?
No, it wasn't the Tasmanian Devils. The culprit has been positively ID'd as, of course, wallabies.
Of course.
Wallabies.
Why not?
So,
why not? Okay.
If you aren't familiar with wallabies, they are essentially a smaller versions of kangaroos. Picture a kangaroo.
Cuter.
But cuter and smaller. Mm-hmm. They are in the same family as kangaroos. They're classified, I love this, as a macropod, which is an awesome family name that basically just means Bigfoot.
Yep.
Which describes them all pretty well. The size classification of macropods basically goes like this. There are kangaroos, which are the 4 largest types of macropods. Then you have the smaller wallaroos. And finally, anything smaller than wallaroos is just generally called a wallaby. And it's hard to nail down an exact number.
Name Wallaroo.
That's very fun too. It's hard to nail down an exact number of wallaby species, as wallaby is, as I mentioned, just kind of like a catch-all term for a small macropod. Mm-hmm. There's likely around 50 different species of animals we generally would call a wallaby. In this case, we're talking about the Tasmanian Bennet's wallabies. So what is going on here? Why are they making crop circles? Very strange. Yeah. Well, apparently, Bennett's wallabies have been breaking into poppy farms, chowing down on opium poppies, and then getting, and I'm going to quote Laura Giddings here, who's the Attorney General for Tasmania at the time. She said they are getting, quote, they are, quote, getting as high as a kite and going around in circles.
That's amazing.
Can you say it in an Australian accent, though?
I will not, out of respect for our listeners from down under. So it seems like what is happening is that wallabies are eating poppies, then jumping around in circles in the fields, trampling plants and creating crop circles before
this is
crashing
so
out
fun.
from their drug-induced high.
Oh my gosh.
It seems interesting. There's also been reports of sheep break into some of these fields and doing the same thing, where when they eat them, they will start like grazing in circles. And no one's really sure what's
Why
up with
circles?
this circular behavior, but pretty interesting. Look, that's all there is to my story. It's just wallabies getting high, making crop circles.
I mean, to be fair, think about it this way. Like, there's been studies of people, right? We think that unless we're using landmarks, we think we're going in a straight line and we're really going in a big circle as well.
Maybe macropods have one foot bigger than the other and they think they're going straight. I can't get out of this field, man. It goes on forever.
Also, if you're going to be high, you're not looking at your surroundings. You're just like, yes, look at this plant that's right in front of me. I'm going to eat some more. Oh, look, there's another one.
There are some conditions with like mice and stuff where you'll see like when they eat some like either some poisons or they can get some neurological diseases where they'll just spin in circles. So there seems to be something about brains that sometimes makes animals just go in circles. But this time, not aliens, just wallabies stoned out of their little gourds. So that was it for the week. Pretty short and sweet, drugged up wallabies. My sources were Australian Geographic, the New York Times, Wikipedia, and the Department of Natural Resources and the Environment, Tasmania.
Oh,
Wonderful.
So good. Thank you so much, Kirk.
That was
my gosh.
sweet
Well,
note
that's
to
another
end the show on.
Yeah, a little bit sweeter than the middle, which was fascinating and a downer. But we get to end on stoned wallabies, so that's fun.
That's always fun.
Everybody
everyone.
have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.